All right, we're all set. So here's where we left off. We've done one of these, but not the other. Okay, so what we are finding is, so far, there's usually only one set of factors for the guys at the front. So like here, with the 5, there's only one way to get two numbers and multiply together and give you 5. That's just 1 and 5, right? So then we set up shop. And one of these is going to have 5n, and the other one's just going to have n. We got plus and plus here. What's that tell us about our signs for our parentheses? Yeah. So you probably hear this ringing in your head now, right? Plus and plus here means plus and plus here. Okay. So now what we have to look at is our factors of 12. Okay. So the only possibilities we'd have here, there'd be 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. Okay. Now, as I said, particularly with a 5 up front, even though 19 is kind of a big number, I would still try the numbers that are the closest together, the 3 and the 4. So what should go here? Should we try the 3 or the 4 there? What do you think? Remembering, of course, whoever goes over here is going to get multiplied by 5. So what do you think for the first set? Should we put the 4 there, or should we put the 3 there? The 4? Okay. So let's try that. So we do a 4 here, and that means a 3 here. Okay, so again, the only thing we have to check to see if this works, the key to this is always getting this guy to match up. Okay. So let's see if that happens here. So I've got 4 times n, so that's going to be 4n. Then I've got 5n times 3, that's going to be plus 15n. And look at that, if we add 4 and 15 together, we get 19n. There's our guy. So that answer is correct. Good. So that's a big thing you need to remember, is like whatever number I put into this second block here is going to get multiplied by 5. So like if we'd have used 1 and 12 and we'd have put 12 over here, that'd have been 5 times 12. That's 60. That's way too big, right? So you start to get a feel for the numbers that you want to pick for this. And if you make a mistake, it's not a big deal. You just put the other numbers in and you move on. All right, let's try a few more. Okay, so this guy, we've got a 2 up front. So again, one of these has to be 2v, and the other one's just going to be 1v. Here's our 2 pluses. So that's a plus and a plus. Now, the only numbers that we can have here, the only factors here are 1 and 5, right? So what should I put in the first block here? You saying put a 1 here, Chloe? Is that what you're telling me? Okay, so put the 1 there, which means we would put the 5 here. Okay, so again, just check your inside-outside, guys. So if I do this, there's 1 times v, so that's going to be 1v. And here I've got 2 times 5, that's going to be 10v. Add them up, we get 11v. It checks out. So that's our boy. Nice. I think at least Chloe's getting the hang of this. Hopefully the rest of you are that are following along. All right, so this one's pretty similar, right? So this one's going to have a 2n and a 1n, because 2 times 1 is 2, right? We got plus and plus, so that means plus and plus. These are pretty easy, actually, this page here. And then we have 1 and 2. Because that's the only numbers you can have here is 1 times 2, right? So what's going to go in the first bracket, the 1 or the 2? Okay, so you want to try the 2? So we'll do 2 here and a 1 here. Okay, so let's check it out. So we have 2 times n, so that's going to be 2n. And then we have 2 times 1, that's going to be another 2n. And that equals 4n. So that guy didn't match up. But it's a pretty easy fix, right? Because all we have to do is what? We're going to try this again. What do we do with the 1 and the 2? I'm not sure what 4 means. So I had the 2 here and the 1 here, and I got 4n instead of 5n. So what do I need to do with these two guys? Not so subtle hint. I just need to switch them, right? So we're going to move this guy over here and this guy over here. So let's try it again. So this time, we've got the inside guys is 1 times n, that's just n. The outside guys is 2n times 2, so that's going to be plus 4n. So we have 1 and 4 is 5n. So that's our boy, because there's the 5n. Okay? So like I said, even if we put them in wrong to start with, we check those middle terms. If it doesn't work out, usually it's something pretty easy to fix, like switch the signs, switch the position of the numbers, something like that. It's usually pretty easy. Okay? Questions on that one? So as I said, there's a certain amount of trial and error to some of these. But the more you do these, the better guesser you become as to what goes where. Let's try another one. Okay, so this one's got a 7. All right, so that means we're going to have a 7a, and then we're going to just have a 1a. We've got our plus and pluses again. So plus and plus means plus and plus. Okay. So now we need to figure out what numbers go here. Now remember, again, the number that goes here is going to get multiplied by 7. And 53 is a pretty big number, but if you start multiplying by 7, things happen pretty quickly, right? Okay, so let's talk about our possibilities. So factors of 28, there's 1 and 28. That one's probably too big. Then there's 2 and 14. And then there's 4 and 7. Okay, so again, it's not always the case, but it's a good rule of thumb to start with the guys that are closest together. I mean, unless this number is way out of whack, like if this was like 100 something, then yeah, you might want to use the 28. Okay, so yeah, we're going to use the 7 and the 4. So is that the order you want them in? You want the 7 here and the 4 here? Is that what we're thinking? Okay, let's check it out. So like I said, it's easy to check these. So I do the inside terms, so that's going to be 7a. I do the outside terms, and that's going to be 7 times 4, that's 28. So plus 28a. So 28 and 7 is 35A. We need 53A. So what do you think we ought to do? What should we do? Switch them. It's a good idea. Let's try that. So then let's go, instead of that, we'll go 4 here and 7 here. Okay. So let's look at that. So we do 4 times A, that's going to be 4A. Then we do 7 times 7, that's going to be plus 49A. 49 and 4 is 53A. So that's our guy. All right. So it means that answer is correct. Okay. Cool. So always check your middle terms, and you'll pretty much get these right. You'll let someone else do this one. We're going to be sitting here a long time, Chloe. I guess I'll be the one that'll do it then. I can't seem to get these guys to do anything. All right. So now we've got something a little bit different on this guy. Because what we have here is there's more than one possibility for the 9, right? It could be 1 times 9, or it could be 3 times 3. And then over here, we've got 1 and 21, and 3 and 7. So what we need to do, we need to come up with a combination of numbers here that's going to give us the 66 in the middle. Always the key to these things. That's funny. All right, so again with these guys, you're usually better off giving a try to the less extreme values. So like this guy and this guy. So let's see if we can set that up. So if we do 3K for each of them, right? There's 3K and 3K, right? Okay. And then we got our plus and plus. All right. And then let's try the 3 and the 7, right? So in this case, since they're both 3K, the order doesn't really matter. So let's see if that works. Okay, so we got 3 times 3 is going to be 9K. And here we've got 3 times 7. That's going to be 21K. And 9 plus 21 is 30. Too small. Okay. So for the time being, let's leave the 3Ks the same. Let's check out the other possibility here. So we've got 3K and 3K. And let's try the 1 and 21. So we'll go plus 1 and plus 21. All right, so let's see if that works. You think it's going to be a 9K? You think we should use the 1 and the 9? Let's try this first, and then we'll check out the 1 and the 9 if we have to. Okay? So again, let's go ahead and do this. So I got 1 times 3, that's going to be 3K. Plus, then I've got 3 times 21. 3 times 21 is 63, so plus 63K. So 63K and 3K is 66K. So that works out. Okay, since we were already working with the 3s, I thought, well, let's go ahead and try the other one. And if that didn't work, then you would do exactly what you said. We'd move on to the 1 and the 9 and see if we could come up with a combination there. But the good news is even there, here, there's only so many combinations till it works. And sometimes we do have to go through it, maybe 2 or 3 times to get where we need to go. But in this case, this is the guy that works. Getting this guy to match up is the key. I may have mentioned that once or a dozen times already. Okay. Like I said, as a rule of thumb, it's best to use the less extreme values to start with, but sometimes that doesn't work, and that's okay. But I think it's usually your best bet for a starter. All right, let's go on. Okay, so this one here, same deal. We've got a couple possibilities here. So for this one, we could have 1 and 15. 1 times 15 is 15, or we have 3 and 5. Okay. And then we have a negative 27. So notice in this one, we're going to have 1 plus and 1 minus. Okay. So for this one, okay, we got our possibilities over here too. We got 1 and 6. And then we've got 2 and 3. So I'm thinking that's a pretty big number. And remember, one of them is going to be negative, one's going to be positive. So we might want to go with the bigger value this time. Let's try that. So let's do n, and then 15 n. Okay. So now we have a minus sign here. That means one's going to be negative and one's going to be positive. So we have to decide which one should be the positive and which should be the negative. So your clue to this, again, is always this middle guy, right? He's minus 27. That's pretty big considering the other number is 6, right? So I'm thinking maybe the negative should be over here, because remember, this is going to be a negative number, and it's going to get multiplied by 15. Okay? So should we try the 1 and the 6, or should we try the 2 and the 3? Let's take a stab at it, because like I said, if it's not the right one, we'll know. I just want you guys to get the vibe for it. So you want to go with the 2 and the 3. Okay? So what should we put in the first one here, the 2 or the 3? Okay? So if we put the 3 here, and then this would be a plus 2, right? Okay, so if I've got negative 3 times 15, that's going to be minus 45. That seems too big, doesn't it? Because then on the other one, we're just going to have n times 2, so that's plus 2n. So that'll give us 43n. So I think that guy's too big. So what should we try now? I think we got our signs right. But what about our numbers? What should we try up front now? Do we want to just switch the 2 and the 3, or do we want to go to the 1 and the 6? Okay, so we want to switch them? All right. You think we should try the 6 and the 1? Okay, which one should go first? Oops, hang on. There we go. What should go in the first set? Should that be a 6 or a 1? So do it like this. So the 1 and the 6. Hang on. So 1 and a 6. All right, so this will be minus 15, and this will be plus 6n. That's going to give us minus 9n. So that doesn't work either. Should we switch them, or should we go back to our 2 and 3? No, it's minus 15 plus 6 is minus 9n. Yeah. So the question is, should we switch the 1 and the 6, or should we go back to the 2 and the 3? This is where the guessing game starts coming in. Go back to the 2 and 3? Okay, we can do that. All right, so last time we had the 3 first, didn't we? So let's try the 2 up front. Let's do that. So if I do 2 here and 3 here. All right, so we got minus 2 times 15. That's going minus 30n. And then we do n times 3, that's plus 3n. I think we're onto something here. Minus 30 plus 3 is minus 27. That's our guy, right? So there we go. Okay, so see how that works? Sometimes you got to put the numbers in and do a little multiplying and figure it out. We tried the 3 and the 2, that didn't work. Then we switched over to the 1 and the 6, and we didn't work. That didn't work. And I thought, well, switching them doesn't seem like it's going to work, so let's go back to the 2 and the 3, which we did. And there's our guy. Cool. So you see, it gets a little more complicated when you have more than one possibility here. Fortunately, this next one, though, goes back to just having one possibility, because the only way you get this to happen is going to be 5 times 1. All right, so we got a plus sign here, which means 2 pluses or 2 minuses. The middle guy's minus. So what should our signs be for our parentheses? Yeah. So if you have a plus here, that means I need 2 pluses, because 2 positives will give you a positive number when you multiply them, or 2 negatives, because 2 negatives will give you a positive if you multiply them. So it's always dictated, again, by this middle guy. This middle guy seems to be the key to just about everything here, right? So this would be a minus and a minus. Okay, so this is kind of like CSI. This is kind of like a fact-finding mission, right? So we got that part in. Now, do we want to try 3 and 3, or do we want to try 1 and 9? Again, this 18 isn't that much bigger than the other ones. So what do you think? Try the 3 and the 3? Okay. And since they're both 3s, it doesn't really matter. We just put a 3 here and a 3 here. And let's see if it works out. So inside, guys, we've got minus 3 times x. That's minus 3x. Then we got 5 times a negative 3. That's minus 15x. And minus 15 and minus 3 more. It's minus 18. Bingo. Got it. That's your answer. Okay. Good job. All right, we'll check out a couple more here and call it a day. And these are about as hard as these factor things get. So even that's not too bad. Okay, so how about this guy? So for this one, it could be 1 and 4, or it could be 2 and 2. And over here, all we've got is 1 and 25, which is probably too big, and 5 and 5. Okay. So again, we've got a minus here, so that means we're going to have 1 plus and 1 minus. And since this guy's minus, then the bigger number needs to go with the negative. So like the bigger number that we multiply by. All right, so here's a quick hack for you on this one. If you multiply something by 2 and multiply something else by 2, you're going to get even numbers in both cases, because you multiply anything by 2, you get an even number, right? So an even number plus an even number equals an even number. But this guy's odd. Yeah, so we want to go with the 1 and 4. So that's a good thing to look for, is if your values here are going to give you an even number, just because when you multiply anything by 2, it's going to be even. That's all there is to it. Or 4, or any even number for that matter. So by looking at it saying I have an odd number here, that means one of my guys has to be an odd number, in this case 1. So we're going to do that. So we're going to have n here, and then we're going to have 4n here. Okay. All right, so now we need to figure out the rest of this. So I'm thinking we're going to use the 5 and the 5. Let's try that. So let's put a 5 here and a 5 here. Now the question is, one's got to be plus, one's got to be minus. Which one's going to be the minus? In the first parenthesis or the second? Where should we put the minus? No problem. Glad you made it. Where should we put the minus? In the second one? Okay. So if we put the minus here, and we'll put the plus here. All right, so let's see what happens. So I've got 5, positive 5 times 4, that's going to be positive 20n. Then here I've got n times a negative 5, so that's minus 5n. So 20 minus 5 is 15n. But we need negative 15n, don't we? So what should I do with my signs? Yeah, we're going to switch them, right? So if we switch them, then we go, okay, so we'll make this guy up front negative, and we'll make the other one positive. So then we'll have a negative here and a positive here. And what that does for us is this makes this minus 5 times 4, that's minus 20, right? And then we have n times positive 5, so that's plus 5. And negative 20 plus 5 is negative 15. That's our guy. So we're real close, but like I said, we just need to fix the sign. And usually if you get like negative of the number and you need positive of that number, you just have to switch the signs and you're good to go. Okay. All right, so the next one is kind of similar. So notice here again, we've got an odd number for the middle guy, right? So should we use the 1 and the 4 or the 2 and the 2? This is a lot like the last problem. Yep, 1 and the 4, because that will give us an odd number. So one of these guys is going to be x. And then one of these guys is going to be 4x, right? All right, so plus sign here means 2 pluses or 2 minuses. And again, the middle guy calls the shots, right? So he's minus. What's that tell us about our signs? Yeah, both going to be minuses. Great. All right, so not a lot of possibilities here. There's either 1 and 49, which I'm thinking is way too big, or there's 7 and 7. So let's give the 7s a try. So we'll do a 7 here and a 7 here. All right, so let's go ahead and check out our numbers. So I've got minus 7 times 4, that's going to be minus 28x. And then I've got x times negative 7, that's minus 7x. And minus 28 and minus 7 is minus 35x. Bingo. That's our guy. Okay. So this is what the math guys like to call number sense. If you have good number sense, then it's easier to figure these things out. For example, the idea that if I have 2 and 2, I multiply anything by 2, I get an even number, and in this case I have an odd number. So that's why I went with 1 and 4. So we didn't even try 2 and 2, right? And then 49, I mean, even if you made it 49 times 1, that's 49. That's pretty big, and you're going to get a negative number on top of that, so it's going to be even more negative than negative 49. So that was no good. That's why we went with the 7 and the 7. Cool. So a lot of this, like I said, it's a lot of logic. It's sort of a fact-finding mission. CSI Algebra 1, right? All right. Let's try a couple more, and that'll probably do it for today. Okay, so here's another one. We've got an odd number in the middle, right? So what are we going to use for our first guys? We're using the 1 and the 4, or the 2 and the 2? Yeah, we're going to stick with that 1 and 4, right? And again, the order doesn't matter. I can put the 4 in here and the n here. Okay, cool. Now, plus sign here means I've got a choice. I either need 2 minuses or 2 pluses. And again, that's determined by this guy. So since he's negative, what are we using here? Where are 2 guys going to be? Going to have 2 pluses or going to have 2 minuses? Well, plus and a minus would give us a negative 4. So I don't think we want one of each. Pluses, if you have a plus right here, that means you're either getting 2 minuses or 2 pluses. If you have a negative there, like we're going to have in this one, that's going to be one of each. But we'll get to him in a couple minutes. So what do you think? 2 pluses or 2 minuses? Yeah, because it's always determined by this guy right here. So it'd be a minus and a minus. Now we have a 4 over here as well. So the same thing is going to happen, right? If I use 2 and 2, I'm going to get an even number in the middle. So I need to use the 1 and the 4. The question is, who goes where? So what goes in the first spot here? We're going to put the 1 here, or are we going to put the 4 there? One, 4? Okay, let's try that. So 1 here and 4 here. Okay. So again, the thing you want to do, you always want to check the inside-outside guys and make sure you're good. So we have, whoops, why isn't this writing? Hang on. So we have minus 1 times n, so that's minus 1n. And here I've got 4 times negative 4, that's going to be negative 16n. So negative 16 minus 1 more is negative 17n. That's our boy. See, we got that to work out. So that's our guy. No, you had it right the first time. Just keep in mind that whatever number I put over here is getting multiplied by this guy. Yeah, so you had it right the first time. Trust your first instincts. They're usually right. Okay, so let's check out this next guy. So this one, I'm thinking, like I said, probably not 1 and 49, so we're probably going to use the 7s, right? So let's start filling in over there. So we have a 7 and a 7. All right, so now, do we want to try the 1 and the 6? Or do we want to try the 2 and the 3? Try the 1 and the 6? Okay. So we'll go x here and 6x here. All right, so since this is minus, one of these guys has to be minus and one of these guys has to be plus. So which one should we make plus and which one should we make minus? What should we put in this first bracket here? Plus or minus? What do you think? Go with the plus? All right, so we'll put a plus there and a minus there. So let's see what happens. So we'll go ahead and multiply here. So I've got 7 times 6, that's going to be plus 42x. And then here I've got x times negative 7, so that's going to be minus 7x. And that equals 35x. Okay, so if we switch our signs, we're probably going to get negative 35x. So this guy's too big, right? So I'm thinking, let's get rid of the 1 and the 6. Let's ditch those guys. So let's try it again. So let's go with the 2 and the 3. Get this stuff out of here, clean things up a little bit. All right. Okay. So we'll do 2 and 3. So the question is, who goes where? We need a plus 7. So I'm thinking the smaller number is going to go with the negative, right? So that the one that's going to go with the negative would be here. So let's put the 2 here. Let's try to squeeze the 3 in here. Okay? So let's go ahead and do our thing here. So I've got 7 times 3, that's going to be 21, positive, right? And then I've got 2 times negative 7, that's going to be minus 14x. 21 minus 14 is 7x. There's our guy. So that's our answer. Okay? All right. So we'll practice a few more of these next time, and then we'll move on. I've already got attendance taken for you guys, so we're good to go there. So if you have any questions, that'd be great. If not, you are free to go. I'm going to shut down the recording, and we will continue on tomorrow. Thank you for